Every year, the same problem. The nectar flow starts, bees are coming in loaded, but the supers are not filling. You wait weeks to see a drawn honey frame. Modern beekeeping points to the weather, the bee genetics, or that year's bloom as the reason. But the real reason is none of those. The real reason is that the frames inside your supers are the wrong type. Amish beekeepers of the 1880s never experienced this wait, because they placed exactly the right type of frame into the hive before the nectar flow started. Drawn comb, ready to receive nectar the moment the bees arrived. No energy spent building wax, no time lost. Just immediate storage from the first day of the flow. Nobody teaches the system today because the modern industry wants you buying foundation every year. But the biology has not changed. A colony working drawn comb during a nectar flow stores between 25 and 40% more honey than the same colony working foundation in the same flow period. That difference is not marginal. Across a 10-hive apiary over a full season, it is the difference between a profitable year and a break-even year. And the Amish maintained this advantage not by spending more, but by managing what they already had with a precision that the modern beekeeping supply chain was never designed to support. The metabolic cost of wax production is one of the most consistently underestimated energy expenditures in managed beekeeping, and understanding it precisely changes how the drawn comb advantage is calculated. Beeswax is synthesized by worker bees between 12 and 17 days of age through 4 pairs of wax glands located on the ventral surface of the abdomen. The glands require the bee to consume and metabolize carbohydrates, specifically honey, at a ratio that has been measured in controlled studies at approximately 6 to 8 pounds of honey consumed per pound of wax produced. A standard Langstroth deep frame holds approximately 454 grams of drawn comb when complete. Building that comb from bare foundation requires roughly 3.6 pounds of honey in metabolic input from the colony. A 10-frame deep super requires approximately 36 pounds of honey equivalent in wax production, honey that would otherwise be stored as surplus. During a primary nectar flow lasting 14 to 21 days, a colony that is simultaneously building comb and storing nectar is dividing its metabolic capacity between two competing processes. The wax-producing bees are not foraging. They are clustered in warm areas of the hive in the chain formation characteristic of wax secretion, holding still while their glands generate wax scales from the honey they have consumed. The Amish drawn comb inventory system operated on a principle that modern beekeepers have largely abandoned. Comb is a durable, productive asset that appreciates in value with age, up to a specific point, requires active management to preserve that value, and should never be destroyed or discarded when it can be maintained at minimal cost. A frame of clean, drawn comb from a previous season is worth more to the upcoming season's production than a frame of foundation at any price, because the drawn comb eliminates the wax production tax entirely and is available for immediate nectar storage from the first hour of the flow. The Amish managed their drawn comb inventory the way a farmer manages his seed stock, as a core productive resource that the farm's output depended on and that required careful preservation between seasons. Drawn comb was cleaned after extraction by allowing the bees to rob it out entirely, removing all residual honey. It was then stored vertically in unheated outbuildings through winter, the cold temperatures preventing wax moth establishment and maintaining the comb's structural integrity. Frames were inspected at storage and at retrieval. Any showing structural damage, excessive darkening beyond 2 seasons of brood use, or wax moth evidence were retired to the wax rendering pot, rather than returned to the apiary. The thermal dynamics of comb drawing versus nectar storage represent a biological constraint that the drawn comb system exploited directly, and that foundation-based management consistently works against. Building new wax comb requires bees to maintain a specific temperature range within the construction zone, approximately 91 to 97 degrees Fahrenheit, to keep the wax pliable enough for manipulation and cell construction. This temperature maintenance requires significant metabolic output from the bees clustered around the construction area, particularly during cool spring and early summer nights when ambient temperatures can drop well below the waxworking threshold. A colony drawing foundation in a cool super during a late April or early May nectar flow in northern climates is spending energy on 2 heating tasks simultaneously: maintaining brood nest temperature in the lower boxes and maintaining waxworking temperature in the super above. The waxworking zone competes with the brood nest for the thermal capacity of the workforce. The pre-flow super preparation protocol the Amish followed was timed to a specific biological threshold within the colony, rather than to a calendar date, a distinction that made the drawn comb advantage fully operational from the first day of the flow, rather than from whenever the beekeeper happened to add supers. The threshold was the population density of the upper brood box. When the upper brood box frames were covered edge to edge with bees on a mid-morning inspection, not at peak warmth, but during the cooler, productive morning hours when bees were working internally rather than clustering for warmth, the colony had reached the population density at which incoming nectar would be immediately received and processed rather than queued. At this density, adding a drawn comb super above the upper brood box created a storage corridor that the bees expanded into within hours, not days. The placement of the drawn comb super without a queen excluder for the first 4 to 7 days of the flow was a standard Amish practice that has been largely lost in modern instruction. The queen excluder, a barrier preventing the queen from moving into the super, creates a reluctance in the worker population to cross into the super zone during the opening days of the flow, when the colony's behavioral patterns have not yet reorganized around the new space above. The relationship between cell size and nectar reception efficiency in drawn comb was a practical variable that experienced Amish beekeepers understood and managed actively, even without the vocabulary of modern apicultural science. Honey supers drawn by bees on standard foundation contain cells averaging 5.4 millimeters in diameter, the standard worker cell dimension. But bees drawing comb in the absence of foundation, or drawing comb in the warm upper regions of a honey super during a strong flow, frequently produce cells averaging 5.6 to 5.8 millimeters, slightly larger than the worker cell standard. These larger cells hold more nectar per cell by volume, allowing the same frame area to store a greater honey yield by weight when fully capped. Frames drawn under flow conditions in the upper superzone, when left as drawn comb for subsequent seasons, provided this volumetric advantage in every subsequent flow. Amish beekeepers noticed empirically that certain stored frames from previous seasons filled faster and weighed more when extracted than standard frames drawn on new foundation. Without understanding the cell diameter differential, they had identified through observation that some frames were more productive storage units than others. The second super timing, when to add the second super above the first, was the management decision that determined whether a colony maintained continuous storage momentum through the entire flow or experienced the productivity plateau that occurs when available comb space becomes a limiting factor on incoming nectar. A colony that has filled the first drawn comb super to approximately 60% capacity is approaching the point at which its nectar reception rate is constrained by available empty cells. Foragers arriving with full nectar loads require immediate receiver bees to offload to, a handoff process that takes place in the entrance area and upper hive body. If no receiver bees are available, because all available cells are occupied or nearly occupied, the forager waits at the entrance or returns to the field to make additional brief flights before the nectar can be offloaded. This waiting increases the time between forager departure and return, directly reducing the colony's nectar collection rate. The Amish practice was to add the second drawn comb super when the first was 60 to 70% filled, not when it was full, not when the bees were hanging outside the entrance from congestion, but at the moment when the storage momentum was still strong and the additional space could be absorbed without disrupting the established receiver bee workflow. The comb cycling protocol, the systematic rotation of drawn comb between honey super duty and brood nest duty across seasons, was the operational mechanism that simultaneously preserved comb quality, prevented wax moth establishment, and maintained the age profile of the drawn comb inventory within the optimal productive range. A drawn comb frame used exclusively in the honey superzone never develops the cocoon layer that makes brood comb increasingly dark and increasingly attractive to wax moth. Honey supercomb remains pale, structurally clean, and wax moth resistant indefinitely, as long as it is properly cleaned after extraction and stored in cold conditions. Brood comb darkens progressively as cocoon layers accumulate from successive brood cycles, reaching the near black condition that represents both maximum wax moth vulnerability and minimum internal cell volume. The accumulated cocoon material reducing effective cell diameter and honey storage capacity simultaneously. The Amish comb cycling system used this differential aging to manage the apiary's total comb inventory in two distinct tracks. Frames in the honey super track remained pale and were reused indefinitely for honey storage. The historical documentation of the 30% yield advantage attributed to drawn comb management appears in American apicultural literature from the 1880s through the 1920s, with a consistency that makes it one of the better supported empirical claims in pre-scientific beekeeping practice. A.I. Root, writing in Gleanings in Bee Culture in the 1890s, documented comparative hive weight gains between drawn comb supers and foundation supers in the same apiary during the same flow events, consistently finding the drawn comb advantage in the 20 to 40% range. The variation in the measured advantage correlated with flow duration and flow intensity. Shorter and weaker flows showed larger percentage differentials because the foundation colony spent a greater fraction of the limited flow period on wax construction, while longer and stronger flows allowed the foundation colony to complete construction and close the gap partially in the later flow days. In the 1907 report of the Iowa State Apiarist, field data from commercial operations across the state showed that apiaries maintaining substantial drawn comb inventories consistently outproduced comparable apiaries relying primarily on foundation by margins exceeding 30% in median years. The practical obstacle that prevents most modern beekeepers from implementing a drawn comb management system is not lack of knowledge, but lack of initial drawn comb inventory. The classic capital problem of needing the asset to generate the yield that would pay for acquiring the asset. The Amish solved this bootstrap problem through a specific protocol for building initial drawn comb inventory without sacrificing current season honey production. The protocol used the colony's natural end-of-flow behavior as the drawing engine. In the 2 to 3 weeks immediately following the close of the primary nectar flow, when the colony's foraging activity had reduced but its population was still high and its wax gland workforce was still active, foundation frames were inserted into the brood nest zone rather than the honey superzone. The brood nest maintained the thermal conditions required for wax working continuously and at lower metabolic cost than a separate superzone. And the colony's behavioral drive to build and maintain the brood nest structure meant that foundation inserted here was drawn rapidly. These drawn brood zone frames were then extracted from the brood nest in the following spring during the pre-swarm management window, transferred to the honey super inventory, and replaced with fresh foundation. The interaction between drawn comb management and swarm prevention was a compounding advantage that experienced Amish apiarists documented, but that modern beekeeping instruction has never fully integrated into a unified management framework. A colony that enters the primary nectar flow with drawn comb supers in place and adequate super space above the brood nest does not experience the upward honey-bound pressure that contributes to swarm preparation. Honey binding, the filling of brood nest cells with incoming nectar when no superspace is immediately accessible, is one of the documented triggers of swarm cell construction. When nectar has nowhere to go except down into the brood nest, displacing the queen's laying space and increasing the colony's perception of spatial constraint, the biological conditions for swarm preparation accelerate. A colony working into an immediately accessible drawn comb super displaces all incoming nectar upward from the first day of the flow, keeping the brood nest biologically distinct from the honey storage zone and maintaining the spatial relationships that suppress swarm preparation. The Amish apiary that began the flow with drawn comb supers in place typically showed lower swarm rates during flow periods than apiaries adding foundation at or after flow commencement. The economics of drawn comb as a farm asset extended beyond individual season yield improvements into the multi-decade productive value of a well-maintained comb inventory, a perspective that the annual foundation and discard cycle of modern beekeeping structurally prevents beekeepers from developing. A frame of high-quality honey super drawn comb maintained in cold storage and cleaned after each extraction retains its functional value for 10 to 15 years of active use. At a conservative estimate of 30% yield improvement per flow season compared to foundation, a single, well-maintained drawn comb frame adds approximately 1 to 2 pounds of additional harvestable honey per flow season. Over 15 seasons of use, that frame has generated 15 to 30 additional pounds of honey beyond what a foundation frame would have produced in the same position, at a marginal cost after initial drawing of 0. The entire additional yield is pure return on the original wax construction investment, an investment the colony made once and that the beekeeper preserved through cold storage and routine inspection. A 10-frame super of drawn comb maintained across 15 seasons has generated 150 to 300 additional pounds of honey compared to a foundation-dependent operation over the same period. The disappearance of systematic drawn comb management from mainstream beekeeping instruction followed the same economic logic that displaced other observation-based management practices in the mid-20th century, but with an additional commercial dimension specific to comb management. Foundation manufacturers, companies producing the wax or plastic sheet from which comb is drawn, had a direct financial interest in normalizing annual foundation replacement as standard practice. The annual foundation cycle created a recurring revenue stream from every active hive in every apiary. Buy foundation, install it, draw it, extract it, discard it or store it inadequately until wax moth damage forces disposal, buy new foundation. Extension literature from the 1940s and 1950s consistently replacement at intervals that the pre-war drawn comb management tradition would have considered premature and wasteful. The recommendation to replace broodcomb every 2 to 3 years, regardless of condition, a practice still commonly taught, generates foundation sales at rates that a well-managed comb inventory system would reduce by 70 to 80%. The Amish never fully adopted this replacement cycle because their equipment was expensive relative to their income, and because the waste was visible. Throwing away functional drawn comb was equivalent to throwing away stored honey.